from his teenage
Yeah.
up till the Mahabharata.
Yes.
Can you take us through that story
Sure.
first? Just the surface level story.
Sure.
And then we'll break down the esoteric parts of it.
Absolutely. Sure. So what you see post the Rasa Leela is that a call comes for Krishna, or rather Krishna recognizes that Kamsa, the one who he had to slay, is there on the other side of Yamuna in Mathura. Kamsa is ruling there as the king. And Krishna takes it upon himself to leave Vrindavan. This is honestly one of the most heart-wrenching parts of the Bhagavatam also. Because when he goes, the sadness of the Gopis, it's just something else. Because, see, Tattvam, philosophy, esoteric aspects, these are all beautiful. These, when we think about it, yes. But in terms of Katha, just look at how sad it is that the ones who loved him with all their heart are having to see him physically go away. That's why they cry, they plead, they go with him. Same thing happens in Ramavataram when he leaves Ayodhya. Because when he's banished, when Kaikai banishes him, the way Ayodhya Vasis, the Praja of Ayodhya, the way they follow him in the chariot, Rama has to leave early morning before they've come to some part of the forest with him also. And Rama wakes up the charioteer and he says, listen, we need to go before they get up. And we need to wrongly show them the path so that they get misled and they go back to Ayodhya. See, that's that viraha tapam, that pangs of separation. Even for a second, nobody wants it from Rama or Krishna. But they have to go through it. And Krishna goes over. He sure enough goes, kills a host of Rakshasas that are there in Kamsa's court. Kamsa has organized this massive wrestling match. Krishna kills all of them. Malla, etc., the host of them. And he kills Kamsa also. Once he kills Kamsa and he establishes Ugrasena as the king of Mathura, Krishna's Leelas take a different turn.
Who's Ugrasena?
Ugrasena is Kamsa's father. Kamsa took the kingdom wrongly from his father and before his father's time, and he imprisoned his father as well. Once Krishna re-established Ugrasena on the throne, Krishna Leelas go through a significant change. All the Leelas that happened here in Mathura and Vrindavan, predominantly Vrindavan, Gokul, Nandagaon and Mathura, are all called as Mathura Leelas. Now it is Aishwarya Leelas. Aishwarya Leelas is where he displays his Ishwaratvam, his divinity. Ishwara here being Parabrahma. He shows his divinity with no hesitation. So now is where Bhagavatam meets Bharatam, where Bhagavatam meets the Mahabharatam. Because once Kamsa is killed, we see the entry of Krishna when in the Mahabharatam we jump from this Grantham into that, where the Pandavas have been sent. The Pandavas are Krishna's cousins. They are in their own universe fighting and battling negative energies over there. And Krishna comes in contact with them. So Krishna comes to their rescue every single time and he's with them as they fight off the Kauravas. Each time they're trying to figure out how to manage that situation, Krishna becomes their mentor. So he's by their side, he's their counsel, he's the one who's constantly advising them on what to do, how to do it, what is the best strategy. And through that, you see a very different side of Krishna.
This is Aishwarya Leela.
These are all called Aishwarya Leelas, henceforth. So, for example, how he helps them strategize about the war.
But what's the last mention of Krishna in the Bhagavatam then?
So, it's not last mention in the sense that here the focus is on the Mathura Leelas. There are mentions, Bhagavatam continues in the 11th and 12th chapter talking about, you were asking earlier, right? It continues to talk about what happens in the Aishwarya Leelas also. It's not that it stops with this.
Do they mention characters from the Mahabharata?
Yes, fully.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. All of so Vyasa is very strategic about what he places where. Vyasa being the author of both these Granthams. In the Mahabharatam, in fact, it's said that he wrote the Mahabharatam and he still didn't feel content inside. He still felt like something is missing. Narada came to him and he said, write Bhagavad Katha. Because Mahabharatam, it's extremely powerful, but at the same time, it deals with things that we encounter on a daily basis. Deals with every kind of anger, lust, jealousy, frustration, etc., etc. Vyasa expanded all of this in the story. The phenomenal story of the Pandavas versus the Kauravas and all the twists and turns. But as Bhagavata Katha, it is the Katha of Bhagavan that gave him ultimate solace. That is why he wrote the Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam, he writes after he's written Bharatam. So every major portion from there comes here, but in lesser or more quantities, depending on how much he's already expanded it over there. So there's no repetition, but if he has to drill in an idea, you will see it mentioned over here. So once he goes and meets the Pandavas and he becomes their trusted counsel, Krishna has come for two purposes. One is to bless all these Gopi Janas, these Gopas and Gopis who were waiting for lifetimes for him to come. And that's the thing about Krishna Avataram. Anybody who comes in touch with him, this is their last Janmam. So this leads me to a very well-known story about how Vishnu in Vaikuntha has two Dwarapalakas, that is Jaya and Vijaya. Vaikuntha has 7 gates of entry. You cannot make it past them easily. These are only crossed by those yogis who have gone past kama, desire, krodha, anger, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. All of these, those who conquer these 6 enemies, they go to the 7th gate if they have truly succeeded. Success in Sanskritam, jayam. Complete success, vijayam. If they have completely mastered all these, then they get entry into Vaikuntha. That's why Jaya and Vijaya are the gatekeepers. It's a metaphor. Jaya and Vijaya, on a certain instance, they block entry for 4 children. These 4 children have renounced the world before they are born. These are the Sanat Kumaras, 4 of them. They have crossed the 6 gates and they've come to the 7th one. But Bhagavad Katha is always teaching us this. It's teaching us that you cannot be arrogant. Even this much arrogance, detrimental to sadhana. Anytime you think about someone else or yourself, you'll find yourself falling. So Jaya and Vijaya block these kids and they say you cannot go inside. You haven't even experienced the world. This is for people who have finished experiencing the world. They can go inside. Tum log kaise ja sakte ho? So immediately Sanat Kumaras say, people are thinking of us as children and you think that just because you are close to Vishnu, you have the right to prevent us from entering. So we give you a curse. You will be born on earth away from Vishnu. They lament now because separation, viraha tapam, always painful. So Vishnu comes out and he asks what happened. And when he hears of it, he smiles and he gives them 2 choices. He says, you go on to earth because this curse has to be fruitful. You can go and take 7 long lives where you will love me with all your heart, but those will take a long time. Or you take 3 sets of lives where you hate me with all your heart. And in all those 3 sets, I will come and I will take you back. They choose the second. They choose the latter, not the former. Because 7 long sets of lives without Vishnu is far more painful than 3 quick sets. Whatever he makes them do in those 3 quick sets, they're willing to do it. This is bhakti at its best. Whatever I have to do for you, I'll do, even if it doesn't look good on paper. So they incarnate as 3 sets of Rakshasas, all 3 which get killed during the course of the Dashavatarams. The first is Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyaksha is killed by Varahaswamy, who we mentioned. Hiranyakashipu by Narasimha. The next set that they come, because Jaya and Vijaya are a pair, the next set that they come is Ravana and Kumbhakarna. Wow. So Rama kills Ravana and Kumbhakarna. The last set, they come as Shishupala and Dantavaktra. Krishna comes and removes them. Krishna Avataram, final Avataram. When Krishna comes, for everybody, it's the last Janma. Nobody who comes in contact with Krishna comes back into Samsara Chakra. That is the rahasyam of Krishna Upasana. You touch Krishna, you go close to Krishna. If you're automatically drawn to Krishna and through sadhana you're finding yourself closer to him, it means moksham is also on its way.
Wider,
yeah,
more twisty, more esoteric,
yeah,
and more mind-bending conversation is about to begin right now.
Okay.
Could you say the shlok yada yada?
Yes, absolutely.
So after you say it, I'll continue.
Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir-bhavati bharata abhyathanam adharmasya kadatmanam srujamyaham. So this idea that whenever there is a destruction whenever there is a decline in dharma, I will come. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I will come. The Bhagavad Gita, one of his most phenomenal Aishwarya Leelas, because here he displays his all. He says, this is what I am. What happens? He takes the Pandavas and Kauravas, and Krishna is an expert strategizer. Krishna is not looking for a peaceful mediation between the two where he says, okay, just give the Pandavas their kingdom. No. Krishna uses the Pandavas and the Kauravas as a pretext to wipe the earth clean of all those kings that are living adharmically, all those kings that are a weight on Bhudevi. Why? Because one aspect is to take care of Jaya and Vijaya and send them back, which he promised he will do. But the second is Bhudevi came to him as a cow and she said, the weight of adharmam is heavy. I am feeling that weight. Adharmic kings are living and they are trampling on me. Come. And he says, I will come. And he uses it in Parshurama Avataram. He did it briefly by killing 21,000 kings. But this, in the case of Mahabharatam, when he brought the Pandavas face to face with the Kauravas, it is the war of the era. It is the yuddham of that complete era because he wants to do samoola nashanam, complete destroyal of all those forces that do not want to practice dharma. So he uses the Pandavas and Kauravas and pits them against each other and says, let this war begin. And what is he? He is just a sarathi in all of this. He is just the witness. He doesn't take on any arms. He doesn't say, I'll fight this. He gets them to do it.
Bringing that Jaya and Vijaya angle back.
Yes.
You spoke about how they were Ravana and Kumbhakarna as well.
Yes.
Ravan could be understood to be the leader of the Rakshas.
Yes.
Forces.
Yes.
The leader of the evil side during the Ramayana. But according to this story, Ravan's soul is the same as that of one of the servants of Vishnu.
Yes.
Okay, and it was by Vishnu's will that that servant becomes Ravan.
Totally.
Now, post the Ramayana war, obviously the world was cleaned of a lot of evil. Not just by removing Ravan, but by removing his own army.
Yeah.
And multiple other evils.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to the Yada Yada Nidharmasya shlok.
Yes.
Basically, the logic is you need to purge the earth of evil.
Totally.
But through a Leela.
Yes.
So even the leader of the evil was placed there by God.
Totally.
Okay.
Totally.
That's the mind-bending angle I wanted to bring in.
Yes.
So the actual people at fault here, the actual souls at fault were the evil humans.
Yes.
But they were also being led by a part of Vishnu.
Absolutely.
Saying, hey, let me lead you here to the edge of this cliff.
Absolutely.
And that's how my avatar will throw you off the cliff.
Yeah.
Which is Ram, which is Krishna, which is
totally
Narasimha.
Yes, absolutely. You named the right avatars for this. They lead you up to that point. That is why there are some versions of the Mahabharatam where Karna is the victim in many senses, is considered to be a victim. Who is Karna? Karna is born to Kunti prior to marriage. She receives the mantram from Durvasa Muni. She tries out that mantram with Surya Bhagavan. What is that mantram? That mantram, I'm not going to reveal the mantram, of course. It's something that she can summon a devata, and through that devata she can have a son. So through that devata's grace. So she summons Surya, and through Surya's grace she has a baby. She's an unmarried woman. So this is obviously going to cast a host of aspersions on her character. So she tries to abandon the baby. She's a mother. She doesn't have the heart to kill the baby, of course. So she packs the baby into a little bundle and sends him down the river. The baby is picked up by a charioteer, Suta, and that Suta and his wife raise Karna. Karna eventually is picked up by Duryodhana, the leader of the Kaurava Sena, the first amongst the 100 brothers. He joins Duryodhana's party. Now, why I'm mentioning this instance is to build off what you said, that Krishna knows who to lead, where to lead. Look at this Leela. Karna is taken to Duryodhana and not to the Pandavas, although technically he's older even than Yudhishthira, because that is the Lord's Sankalpam, that there is a negative force inside Karna. That negative force comes out in the story. I won't go too much into details about Karna's negativity, but we all know about the instance of Draupadi being disrobed in public. At the time when the Pandavas and the Kauravas are involved in a game of dice, the Pandavas lose everything that belongs to them, including themselves. Yudhishthira wagers his wife. And he says, if I win, I get all of this back. But if I lose, you get my wife. Because he's, again, completely in that moment, he's lost to that Maya. And sure enough, he loses Draupadi. And when he loses Draupadi, nobody in that Sabha thinks of disrobing her. It is Karna who says, isn't she our Dasi? Then why don't you go and get her Dushasana and let her be disrobed here in public? The negative, that seed, especially relevant in a time like today, when a man thinks that a woman can be objectified and paraded in public as per a man's wish, the message in Karna's story is Paramatma is watching. That's why Paramatma pits him onto that negative side. But Karna comes to a crashing end much later. Krishna explains this to Karna much, much later also. Before the war, Krishna clearly tells him, listen, you are Kunti Putra. You are the eldest son of Kunti. Technically, you should be on the side of the Pandavas now, not on the Kauravas. What will you do? Karna by then has had his realization and he said, what will I do? We are all puppets in your hands. I know you have put me on this side so I can fight on Duryodhana's side. And there Krishna speaks to him. We see this in 2-3 versions of the Mahabharata. But Krishna speaks to him and he says, there is a portion of evil inside you. That evil has to be destroyed. You have been placed there by my Sankalpam. My Sankalpam came why? Because your nature is evil. So when we look at Rama or Krishna or Narasimha as the people who led them to the edge of the cliff, their actions propelled him to do it. He didn't of his own will say, chalo, you be a pawn in my strategy. No, you are doing activities that is conducive for me to do this. I will just pick you up at your natural acceleration and place you here. That is why, how does Karna come to an end? When he's fighting with Arjuna and Krishna is Arjuna's Sarathi, whereas Karna has gotten a horrible Sarathi. Karna has gotten a terrible charioteer for himself, whose name is Shalya. Shalya's charioteering is not just about driving the horses. It's also about being able to instill confidence into the one that you're taking, the warrior, right? You need to make them feel good about it. Shalya is sarcastic. He starts to attack Karna's mode. Who is attacking Karna? Karna's karma only is coming back. Krishna is the one that is karma sakshi. He is watching all of your karmas. What happens? The chariot wheel gets stuck in the mud. And Krishna says, Arjuna, shoot now. Arjuna is hesitating. Karna speaks first. He said, isn't it adharma that to shoot an unarmed warrior? Krishna says, who's talking about adharma? Somebody who wanted a woman to be disrobed in public in front of so many lustful, disgusting eyes. You are talking to me about dharma. Somebody who suggested that we shoot, that your entire Kaurava Sena should attack the Pandava Sena at a different point of time, which is another story, I'll not go into it. He cites instance after instance saying, on what basis do you talk about dharma? This is Krishna's Leela. That when we negotiate in our lives and we say, Bhagavan, I've been doing all these things right. Bhagavan is aware what is the intent, number one. Number two, what are the things you are not telling people? Karna's story, this doesn't come out that he has this negative aspect to him. But when it does, Krishna says, dharma and adharma, you don't have that discussion with me because I am the universe's conscience keeper. Same thing you can draw in Ramavataram. I'll come to that in just a minute. But Krishna's Aishwarya Leelam, he shows his divinity here and he says, Arjuna, don't hesitate now. This is a moment where the law of dharma is not, it is called dharma sukshmam. It is the subtleties of dharma, saying you spend a whole life in dharmam, then your end will also be dharmic. You will be killed in a dharmic way. You will reach your final abode like that. You can't spend your life in adharmam and suddenly wake up in that last moment and be like, guys, but what about dharma? What did you do for that dharma? Have you performed any dharma for you to count on? So Krishna's Leelas in this context come out like this, that they show his Ishwaratvam and you realize, okay, here is someone who knows his entirety and he knows without any kapatam, you cannot try falsehood with him because he pulls it out of each of us. So Krishna in the Mahabharata is very different. Krishna in the Aishwarya Leelas is very different from Krishna in the Mathura Leelas. Because here the bhavam is gentle, there it is fierce. And there he takes on people. I'm sure you're aware of this. There's this very well-known story of how during the Mahabharata war, they are trying to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya he's a fierce warrior. He is also properly on the side of the Kauravas in terms of fighting, and that fierceness is coming through. They need to attack him. They need to bring down his spirit. They can't just physically attack him. So there happens, his Dronacharya's son's name is Ashwathama, the well-known warrior. There is also an elephant on the Kaurava Sena who has the same name, by name Ashwathama. So Krishna says, let the elephant be killed and I want you all to just go around Dronacharya and say Ashwathama hataha. Ashwathama has been killed. Yudhishthira takes it upon himself. Yudhishthira has sworn that he'll never tell a lie. So look at this situation. No? Paramatma is standing in front of you and telling you, don't say more than I'm telling you to say. Say this much. Say Ashwathama hataha. Yudhishthira can't. So when he goes to Drona and everyone says Ashwathama hataha, he whispers Kunjaraha, which means elephant. Ashwathama, the elephant, has been killed, which is absolutely an antithesis to what Krishna wanted. Krishna wanted Drona's psyche to be affected. His psyche is saying, oh my God, Ashwathama, my son is dead. Yudhishthira has gone and revealed it. When he came back, Krishna did not give it to him easy. He said, on what basis did you go do that? I didn't ask you to talk about the elephant. I asked you to do this, you do this. So Krishna becomes very fierce, like a mentor. A mentor is not always going to be gentle. He's going to hold you accountable, saying, we agreed on this. Why would you change your path? So Krishna there is a very, very different Krishna in the war. And of course, that leads me, we were talking about Glanir Bhavati Bharata, so it leads me to the very premise of the war, which is where the ultimate expression of his divinity comes out in the Bhagavad Gita, the song of the Lord. 18 chapters of just expression of that divinity. And so this is the Rahasyam, the secret of Krishna Avataram. Every portion that is here in the Bhagavad Gita, he has already or he will showcase elsewhere in his life. He says, those who believe that I am everything, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Yejana Paryupasate. Those who dedicate their all to me, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Yejana Paryupasate, Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. Their constant welfare, Tesham Nitya Abhiyuktanam, Nitya, constant, without 1 second break, I will take care of them. Declaration from the divine. So, yeah.
Such a different energy in this part of the podcast.
Right?
Such
Even in my body, I can feel it. Yeah.
Anyone who's listening to it can feel it at
Yeah.
this. And the energy is shifted like throughout the course of these 2 hours.
Yeah.
Someone had said this on the show. They said that when it comes to Krishna, it's such a peculiar deity or avatar that if you study his entire life, it's likely that you'll find yourself feeling more connected to one part of his life than the other parts.
Absolutely.
And that's often a reflection of you yourself.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Again, just for the sake of understanding this same quote better, I'm going to take my own example. I bow down with respect, with reverence to all these different chapters. But for me, it's the charioteer part that appeals the most. And I think that's the case for a lot of guys, at least, that I've spoken to. A lot of female Krishna devotees I've seen relate much more to the Radha Krishna part of it, the more loving part. Don't know why that is. I just guess that's human nature. What is it for you?
So for me, it has been in what phase of life I've been at that point of time. Around the times that I have just been seeking that divine validation, that am I on the right path? Is this okay? Strangely enough, for me, it's not always been Bhagavad Gita as much as it's been Mathura Leelas. That I kept revisiting them and finding that, saying, yes, this is how he's speaking to me through that. But like you said, different aspects of his life appeal to different people because that is Krishna. And I say this with all due humility. There is not a single kind of a sadhaka who Krishna does not cater to. You are on a fierce, intense journey of self-discovery, Krishna will do something for you. You are on gentle prema bhakti margam or pushti margam or any of these sampradayams that just are about opening this heart to his loving, gentle, delicate footsteps, he will speak to you. You are at a crossroads and you don't know what to do, Bhagavad Gita will speak to you. You don't know if you are right or wrong, but there are situations that demand certain fierceness from you, he will be there. You have to leave home. Look at his life now. His life is telling you that he has lived these experiences. Keep aside Paramatma, keep aside this. In our lives, when we go through certain things, especially difficult moments, the mind's nature is, has this happened to someone else? How did they deal with it? I'm not the first one to go through this, right? It reassures the mind. Look at him. Yet, I'm keeping aside all philosophy for this discussion. Born in one home, born in a jail, transferred that same night elsewhere to another set of parents, grows up there, spends great years with them, has to move because the call of duty is elsewhere. After that, doesn't ever go back here at all. Moves on, strategizes one of the greatest wars ever of the time, and ultimately watches civilizations and generations disappear in front of his eyes in cold-blooded deaths. Watches and ensures that whatever sacred life has to be protected, he has done that. And then goes and retires calmly, watches his own family, which is the Yadu Vamsham, the Yadu clan, watches them being destroyed on account of their own follies and their own misdeeds, and then ultimately shot by an arrow. That is how the Avatara Samapti happens, where, so this happens post the war.
Hey, if you enjoyed today's clip, make sure you check out all the other clips we've uploaded on this channel. You'll find a clip related to almost every single topic as long as you're willing to search for it.